Hello everyone, I am Abhilasham, working as Assistant Professor at Department of Mechanical Engineering, Maharaja Institute of Technology, Mysuru. So coming for the subject of Design of Machine Elements 1, so far in the subject, Professor Ravikumar KS has addressed the basic concepts with respect to the Design of Machine Elements 1, and you are also familiarized with the few of the concepts of stresses, review of stresses, principal planes and principal stresses. So in this particular session, I will be handling on the numerical problems on combined loading and principal planes and stresses condition. Basically, we will be beginning up with the numerical session from this class onwards. So before coming for the numerical problems, let us get familiarized with the basic stress and the differences between the simple and the compound stresses and their relations that has to be used in order to get the solution for the given problem conditions. So to begin with the basic concepts, the simple stresses. In the simple stresses, as we all know that there will be three different type of loading condition that can act on a machine member. The first loading that we have considered is an axial load. Because of this axial load, the type of stress that is developed will be the axial stress. In order to understand this concept, we have taken a machine member which is subjected for an axial load of F. Which is subjected for an axial load of F, and the stress that is developed because of this load can be calculated using the relation the sigma will be equals to the force divided by the cross sectional area. So sigma will be equals to F divided by A. Remember, this is for a simple axial stress, or it is also called as an direct stress. The load condition could be either in the tensile direction or it could be in the compressive direction. So depending upon the direction of load, this value vary. If it is a tensile stress, it is plus F by A. If it is a compressive stress, it will be minus F divided by A. Now coming for the second type of load that acts on a machine member, which is a bending load. So because of this bending load which is acting on the machine member, the type of stress that is developed will be the bending stress. So in order to calculate the amount of bending stress that is developed because of this applied bending load, we have a bending stress equation which is given by sigma B is equals to M divided by Z, where M is called as the moment, Z is called as a section modulus. How did we arrive at this particular equation? So in the basics of mechanics of material, we have understood the concept of a bending moment equation. If you recall, the bending moment equation is given by M by I is equals to sigma B by C is equals to E divided by R. So this equation is a bending moment equation. So from this, I need to get a bending stress because of the moment that is applied to the machine member. So how to calculate then? So sigma B, correlating these two by considering, so sigma B will be equal to M into C divided by I. So if I replace C from numerator to denominator, this will become M divided by I divided by C. This ratio of moment of inertia to the distance from farthest fiber, it is replaced by the term, it is called as M divided by Z. So that is what we have written over here. So sigma B will be equal to M divided by Z. And even this equation is also available in the data handbook. Now coming for the next type of simple load, that is a twisting moment or the torque that is applied to the member, which will lead for the twisting of a member. So what is the stress that is developed because of this twisting load? It is the shear stress. How to calculate the shear stress? In order to calculate the shear stress, we have an equation, shear stress tau will be equals to T divided by Zp, where this term Zp is called as polar section modulus. The term Zp is called as polar section modulus. So this term Zp is called as a polar sectional modulus. And how did we arrive at this expression? Again, coming from the basics of mechanics of material, we know that the torsional equation is given by T by J is equals to tau by R is equals to G theta by L. because of the applied torque, there is some amount of shear stress that is developed. In order to calculate this shear stress, I am going to replace tau. This tau will be equals to T into R divided by J. If I replace the R from numerator to denominator, it will become J divided by R, where this ratio I am going to call it as the polar sectional modulus, which is ZP. So the shear stress for a member when it is subjected for a twisting load is given by T divided by Zp. So Zp is the polar section modulus. All these are individual load acting on a machine component, but in actual scenario, majority of the cases the loading will be a combined load. The combination could be between the axial and bending, or it could be between axial and torsion, bending and torsion. So what happens, or what is the maximum stress that is developed when it is a combined load? We'll be understanding the concepts by these two conditions. So to take up the first condition of combined stresses, I am going to consider the first condition to be the combined axial and bending. Here we have observed the loading conditions to be of simple individually. Here we are considering both axial as well as a bending. So what will happen at this particular case, or what is the maximum stress in this component when it is subjected for both axial as well as bending? So the combined axial and bending condition has been taken. A machine component along the axis, we have a load of F1 which is giving us the axial stress or the direct stress, and along the transverse load of F2 is acting at the free end, which is causing us the bending stress. So in order to obtain the maximum stress under these circumstances, the maximum stress is given by the summation of these two. So because of the axial stress, because of the bending stress. So sigma max will be equal to the direct stress plus the bending stress. Here we have taken a sign to be the plus or minus. That depends upon the effect of bending stress. If we consider above the neutral axis member, it will be subjected for the tensile. If it is below the neutral axis, it will be subjected for the compressive stress. So depending upon the type of condition that we are taking, the sign of plus or minus will be decided. Now we know the direct stress relation, that is F by A, and we know the bending stress relation, that is M by Z. So whenever the component is subjected for a combination of axial and bending, the maximum stress is given by the equation sigma max is equals to F by A plus or minus M divided by Z. So this particular equation is available in the data handbook of equation 1.4, page number 3. If you refer page number 3, and we can observe this particular sketch along with the corresponding equation of sigma max for the combination of axial as well as a bending loading condition. Now the other combination is either it could be between the axial and the torsional load, or it could be between the bending and the torsional load. We have taken two different sketches in order to understand the concept. Whereas the first sketch is indicating it is a combination of axial as well as the torsional load. The second case, or both the equations are similar. So or it is a combination of bending along with the torsional load. So what is the maximum stress under these circumstances? So we are supposed to understand two different concepts in order to get the equation for the maximum stress that is developed because of these two conditions. The first one would be the maximum normal stress equation. In order to get, when it is a combination of axial and torsion, we will be making use of a maximum normal stress theory, which gives us the equation of sigma max is equals to sigma by 2 plus square root of sigma by 2 square plus tau square. The tau is given by the shear stress and sigma is given by because of the axial stress. So this equation is available in the data handbook 1.5a, page number 3. So along with this, we can calculate the maximum stress that is developed because of these two loading conditions according to maximum shear stress theory, and that theory gives us the equation of square root of sigma by 2 square plus tau square, where sigma is the normal stress, tau is the shear stress, and this equation is available in the data handbook in the equation 1.5b, page number 3. We are referring the data handbook of Madhavan and Balvir Reddy, and all the equations are taken from the Madhavan and Balvir Reddy and the corresponding page numbers. Now coming for the first problem, a problem statement is a machine member of diameter 60 millimeter. It is in the form of a cantilever and 300 millimeter long carries an axial load of 18 kilonewton, transverse load of 3 kilonewton at its free end. So determine the nature and magnitude of the stresses at the critical points. So we are supposed to identify the nature and magnitude of the stresses at critical points for the given condition. First we will try to analyze the data and we will try to write on a sketch what type of condition it is. So they are stating that a machine member of diameter 60 millimeter. So they have given the data. So they have given the data, the diameter to be of how much? 60 millimeter. So the diameter they have given is of 60 millimeter in the form of a cantilever beam. So the given machine member is in the form of a cantilever. So we all know that the cantilever beam, the one end will be fixed and the other end will be free. So one end will be fixed and the other end will be free, and it is in the form of a cantilever, and the length of the cantilever beam is also given, it is 300 millimeter. So the length of the cantilever beam they have given it as to be 300 millimeter. 300 millimeter. This cantilever beam carries an axial load of 18 kilonewton. So this cantilever beam is carrying an axial load of 18 kilonewton and a transverse load of 3 kilonewton at its free end. So there is axial load, along with the axial load we have a transverse load of 3 kilonewton at its free end. So this is the free end in the cantilever beam and the load is 3 kilonewton. For this particular condition we are supposed to determine the stresses at the critical points. First we are supposed to identify the critical points. Prior to that we will make it identify the diameter. So the diameter they have given is of 60 millimeter, and we are maintaining all the units to be in terms of millimeter itself. If it is a load it will be in terms of Newton. So I think we know the conversion for a meter, it will be 1000 millimeter. For centimeter it will be 100 millimeter, and if in the given problem the stresses are in terms of megapascal, ensure that it has been converted for Newton per millimeter square. So for that conversion we know that 1 megapascal will be equal to 1 Newton per millimeter square. So here they have given the loading conditions to be in terms of kilonewton. Later in the problem we will be converting this kilo into the Newton. Kilo into Newton will be into 10 to the power of 3. So coming for the identification of the critical points for the cantilever beam, let us take a condition. Let us take a condition in which the beam is completely fixed. The cantilever beam is completely fixed and it is subjected for an axial load along the length and a transverse load. If you analyze this condition, we can clearly state that the critical points for the cantilever beam will be at the fixed ends itself, So this is the point A and this is the point B. I have identified two critical points, point A and point B. What will be the condition when these two loads are acting on the member? It will be subjected for the bending. So in the actual scenario, because of this bending load and the axial load, the beam will be subjected for the combined stresses. So this dotted sketch will represent you the bending stress because of this transverse load along with the axial load. So we are familiarized with this condition. The machine member is subjected for two type of loading condition. So we can recall it will be called as an combined loading condition and the stress developed will be the combined stress. Then what are the two stresses that are developed because of these two load? One along the axis, axial load. So the stress developed will be the axial stress or the direct stress, and the other one is the transverse load or the bending load because of which the bending stress is developed. we know that for the combined load of axial and the bending stress, the maximum stress in the machine component will be given by the equation sigma max will be equal to sigma d plus or minus sigma b, where sigma d is because of the axial load, sigma b will be because of the transverse load. So this is a general condition, but what they have asked in the problem, they have asked us to calculate at the critical points. So we have identified the critical points to be point A and point B. Then what will be happening at the point A and B? If you analyze this complete sketch, or if you take a portion along the length of the member, we can state that at the top portion or above the neutral axis, it will be subjected for the tensile stress, and below the neutral axis, it will be subjected for the compressive stress. So along the length of the beam, at the upper portion above the neutral axis, it will be the tensile stress, and below the neutral axis, it will be the compressive stress. Hence, we have used the notation of plus or minus in order to identify at the points A and B. First, I have taken a condition at critical point of A. At critical point of A, we know that the maximum stress at the point A will be equal to the direct stress, and since the upper portion is subjected for the tensile stress, it will be the plus sign and plus the bending stress. So sigma max will be equal to sigma d plus sigma b. And we know that the direct stress is given by the relation F divided by A, and the bending stress is given by the relation M divided by Z. This M is called the moment, Z is called the section modulus. Then what are the values of this F? We know the applied load is how much? 18 kilonewton, whereas this moment, in order to calculate the moment, it will be force into perpendicular distance, or you can refer data handbook page number 15 under table 1.4. We are going to get the moment value for different condition. For instance, in this problem, it is a cantilever beam, load is subjected at the free end. For this, the equation is F into L. What if it is a simply supported beam carrying a load at its center itself? This equation doesn't hold good. For that reason, for all the problems, check the moment equation from the page number 15 and table 1.4. Then we have the area. We know that for a area of a circular cross section, the area will be pi by 4 of d square. Then in order to identify the value of Z, which is section modulus, we can refer for the table in the data handbook 1.3a page number 12. If we go for page number 12 in the design data handbook under table 1.3a, for the given cross section, it is a solid shaft they have given. For this particular condition, the value of Z will be equal to pi d cube divided by 32. If it was an hollow section, this Z value would have been a different value, but here it is a solid, so the Z value is pi d cube by 32, and this value we have obtained from the table 1.3a page number 12. Now substituting all the values, so we have F1, the area we know it is pi by 4 of d square, the moment for the given condition it is F2 into L. F2 is nothing but a transverse load of 3 kilonewton, and the length we know it is acting along the length of the beam of 300 millimeter, and the area is pi by 4 of d square, and the Z value is pi d cube divided by 32. Now the equation will become, just transferring this denominator value to the numerator, it will be 4f1 divided by pi d square, 32fl divided by pi d cube. I think we are ready with all the values, just substituting and obtaining the maximum stress at the critical point of A. So we know the F1 will be the axial load of 18 kilonewton, kilo is converted into Newton, 4 into 18 into 10 to the power of 3 divided by pi into d. D is the diameter. So the diameter is how much? 60. So it is 60 square plus 32 into F of the transverse load which is causing the bending. So 3 into 10 to the power of 3 into 300 divided by pi into 60 cube. So by substituting, we are going to obtain the value of 48.8 Newton per millimeter square, indicating that at the critical point A, the stress that is developed is 48.8 Newton per millimeter square. Now let us move on to see what is the critical stress that is developed at the point B. Now considering the condition at the critical point B, now we will see the sketch once again. So at the critical point B, we know that it will be subjected for the compression. So the maximum stress equation will be equal to sigma D minus of sigma B. So at critical point B, the maximum stress will be equal to the direct stress minus bending stress. So we know that the direct stress is given by F1 divided by I, and the bending stress is given by M divided by Z. So F1 is having a value of 18 kilonewton, whereas F2 is having a value of 3 kilonewton. So substituting all the values in a similar fashion, we are going to obtain the maximum stress at the point B, which is having a value of minus 36.07 Newton per millimeter square. So at the point A and point B, we have identified the values of the nature and the magnitude of the maximum stresses at the point A and B. The nature is whether it is a tensile or a compressive, the magnitude is the value that we have obtained at the critical points in the section A and B. So we will move on for the next problem. Let us see the next problem, which states that a 50 millimeter diameter of a steel rod supports 9 kilonewton load, and in addition it is subjected to a torsional moment of 100 Newton meter as shown in the figure. Determine the maximum tensile stress and the maximum shear stress for this particular condition. So in the previous problem, the problem was given in the form of a statement and we have written the sketch, whereas in this problem they have given the sketch and they have given all the data and they are asking us to calculate specifically the maximum tensile stress and the maximum shear stress for the given particular sketch, for the given particular figure. Now let us try to understand the data given in the problem. A 50 millimeter diameter of steel rod, they are stating the diameter of the steel rod that they have given is having a 50 millimeter diameter. So the value of a diameter, if we write down the data, so the diameter value is of 50 millimeter of steel rod. It is supporting a load of 9 kilonewton. So it is supporting a load of 9 kilonewton, and in addition it is subjected to a torsional moment of 100 Newton meter. Along with the axial load what it is supporting, it is also taking up a torsional moment of 100 Newton meter as shown in the figure, and we are supposed to determine the maximum tensile and maximum shear stress. If we look into the given problem, the loading condition is not at all acting along the centroidal axis member, whereas in the previous cases for the axial load we know that it will be acting along the centroidal axis member, whereas here it is not at all acting along the centroidal axis of the given member. It is at some eccentric distance of some 28 millimeter. So this type of condition gives rise for a new concept which is called as an eccentric loading condition. In few of the machine component, the load might not act along the centroidal axis of the member. It might be at an eccentric distance as in the given problem. Then what is this eccentric loading condition? How to solve the problem on this condition? The eccentric loading is nothing but a load which will be acting parallel to the centroidal axis, but it will not be acting along the centroidal axis of the given member. Then how to obtain the stresses under the condition of eccentric loading? For this we need to understand this particular sketch. I have taken a member in which it is subjected for an eccentric loading. The load is not acting along the axis of the member, it is acting at an eccentric distance of E. So what the state is, according to the principle of statics, we can resolve this eccentric load into the axial load that is acting along the axis along with the couple. That is because of this force into its eccentric distance. So the stress developed because of the eccentric load will be a combination or superimposition of two stresses. One is the axial stress that is acting along the centroidal axis member, and the other one is the couple that is produced because of the force into its perpendicular distance. So the maximum stress for the eccentric loading is given by the sigma is the maximum stress developed under the eccentric loading condition. So for this sigma, it will be equal to the direct stress along with the couple stress, that is the bending stress. So sigma will be equal to the direct stress sigma d plus the bending stress sigma b. Now if we compare these two sketches, the sketch that is used in order to understand the concept of eccentric loading and the given problem, we can clearly state that the given problem is under condition of eccentric loading, where the load is acting parallel to the centroidal axis of the member, but they are not acting along the centroidal axis. It is acting at an eccentric distance of 28 millimeter. So the given condition is, therefore the given problem is an eccentric condition. The given problem is an eccentric loading condition problem. The given problem is an eccentric loading condition. Here first we will try to resolve this eccentric loading condition, and then we will see, and then we will compare with the other load which is acting on the machine member. So how to resolve this eccentric loading condition? As we all know that the eccentric loading condition, the maximum stress will be equal to the sigma d plus sigma b condition. And again in the problem they are asking us to calculate the value at the point A. So whenever the member, imagine this is the bar and this is where we are applying the load, and it tries to bend, so the outer portion will be subjected for the tensile stress, and this particular portion along the length will be subjected for the compressive stress. And again in the problem they have asked us to calculate the maximum tensile stress, and it will be acting at the point A. So I have taken the effect on the combined stress at the point A because of this eccentric load that is acting on the member. Now, if we recall the equation, that is sigma will be equal to sigma d plus b. I have written the same equation. Sigma is equals to the direct stress plus the bending stress. The direct stress acting along the axis, the bending stress because of the eccentric loading condition. So the sigma will be equal to the direct stress is given by the equation F divided by A, whereas the bending stress is given by M divided by Z. We all know that in the previous problem only we have understood the concept of F by A plus M by Z. Now the area for a given circular section will be pi by 4 of d square. So the area I have written it as pi by 4 of d square, whereas the moment M will be equal to the load into its perpendicular distance. The applied load is 9 kilonewton and its perpendicular or the eccentric distance is 28. So P into E divided by the Z. What is this Z? This Z is called as a section modulus. So if we refer the data handbook 1.3a table in the page number 12, we are going to obtain the value of Z for different condition. Again in the problem it is a solid rod of having a 50 millimeter diameter. So we can easily recall the equation for Z section modulus Z. We know that the value is pi by 32 into d cube. In order to get the value of this Z, refer design data handbook by Madhavan and Balbir Reddy, table 1.3a, page number 12. Now the rearranging the terms, I am just replacing this 4 to the numerator. The stress because of the eccentric load will be equal to sigma is equals to 4 into F divided by pi into d square, plus replacing this denominator into the numerator, the 32 value. So it is 32 into P into E divided by pi into d cube. Now we know all the values, just substituting the given values. So the sigma will be equal to 4 into 9 into 10 to the power of 3, because the F value they have given is 9 kilonewton. Converting that kilo into the newton, it is into 10 to the power of 3, whereas the diameter is 50. So substituting the value of 50. Similarly, P, that is the load, is 9 kilonewton along with the eccentric distance of 28 millimeter. So P into E is 9 into 10 to the power of 3 into 28, whereas the diameter value is 50 millimeter. Now substituting all the values, we are going to obtain the sigma value to be of 25.11 Newton per millimeter square. So this is the amount of stress that is developed because of this eccentric loading. But is this the only one load that is acting on the given member? No, it is not only the load that is acting on the member. Along with this load, it is also subjected for a torsional moment of 100 Newton meter. So it is subjected for a torsional moment of 100 Newton meter. Then what is this torsional moment gives rise for? This torsional moment will give rise for the shear stress. So how to calculate the shear stress? So we know the equation when the member is subjected for a twisting moment or a torsional load. The shear stress is given by tau is equals to the applied torque to the polar sectional modulus. In order to obtain the value of polar sectional modulus for the given type of loading conditions, we are supposed to refer table 1.3b, page number 14. There we are going to get the relation for the different type of cross sections, that is the polar section modulus. So referring that particular table, we are going to obtain the Zp value to be of pi by 16 into d cube. So this value is obtained from table 1.3b, page number 14 in the design data handbook. So if we refer that particular table, we are going to obtain the polar section modulus for the given solid rod to be of pi by 16 into d cube. Now substituting the values, so 16 into t divided by, I am just transferring this 16 to the numerator, it will be the shear stress is given by 16 into t divided by pi d cube, where 16 into torque is in terms of Newton meter, and we have already seen the conversion rate. 1 meter will be is equals to 1000 millimeter, or in other terms it is into 10 to the power of 3. So I have converted that Newton meter, that is 100 into 10 to the power of 3 divided by the diameter. We know the diameter is 50 millimeter. So the diameter is 50 cube. Substituting the values, we are going to obtain the shear stress that is developed is 4.07 Newton per millimeter square. By looking at these two stresses, we can easily say that the component is subjected for a combined loading condition where we can obtain the combined stresses. Because of this combined load of this eccentric as well as the torsion, we can obtain the combined stress condition. Then they have also asked us to calculate the maximum tensile stress that is developed in the component. That is because of both the condition, because of this the normal stress, that is eccentric load, as well as this the torsional moment. So we are supposed to calculate what is the maximum tensile stress and what is the maximum shear stress values. Now continuing, in order to calculate the maximum tensile stress and the maximum shear stress, since the member is subjected for the combined stress condition, we are supposed to make use of two different important theories, which is the maximum normal stress theory, which gives us the maximum tensile stress that is developed on the member, and the maximum shear stress theory that gives us the maximum shear stress that is developed on the member. So we have calculated the value of the stresses because of the eccentric load and the twisting moment that they have given in the problem. So the values are 25.11 and the 4.07. So these two are the values that is obtained because of the eccentric load and the torsional moment that they have given in the problem. Now according to the maximum normal stress theory, the maximum stress at the point A is given by sigma by 2 plus square root of sigma by 2 square plus tau square, and this equation for the given combined loading condition is available in the data handbook, page number 3, equation 1.5a. So if you refer that particular equation, we are going to obtain this equation. So now we have calculated the value of sigma as well as shear stress. Substituting the values in the given conditions. that is sigma value is 25.11 divided by 2 plus square root of 25.11 by 2 square plus the tau value that we have calculated is 4.07 Newton per millimeter square. We are going to obtain the maximum tensile stress that is acting at the point A, and the value is to be 25.76 Newton per millimeter square. So this is the maximum amount of tensile stress that is acting at the point A for the given loading conditions. Now in order to calculate the maximum shear stress, what is the amount of maximum shear stress? We are making use of maximum shear stress theory, and according to this particular theory we have an equation in order to calculate the maximum shear stress. So that is given by square root of sigma by 2 square plus tau square, and this is available in the equation 1.5b and in the page number 3 of our design data handbook. If we refer this particular equation, we are going to get the expression for the maximum stress because of the combined load condition. Now substituting the values of the sigma and the tau that we have calculated, we are going to obtain the maximum shear stress that is developed in the member because of the loading conditions they have given. So this problem is of a very important in the nature because this problem gives rise for a new concept of eccentric loading, where we understood how to resolve the eccentric loading condition and then how to proceed with the problem. This is one of the case. The cases might vary. It might be a clamp type problem where it will be in the nature of a C clamp, and the loading will not be along the axis, it will be somewhere eccentric. Even in those cases, the problem has to be solved in a similar fashion. By considering the cross-sectional area they have given, we are supposed to analyze and then calculate the given conditions in the problem. Thank you.